Welcome back to the program. Brian Molefe, former CEO at Eskom and Transnet, he's lashed out at Treasury-appointed investigators for what he claims are procedural irregularities in the investigation into the rot at Transnet and Eskom under his watch. Now, Molefe claims he'll be able to explain what actually happened if he was given, he says, sufficient time to peruse the underlying documents for deals that he authorised that appear to have unduly enriched the Gupta family. So then let's get the latest details into this particular investigation. A matter of great concern in South Africa. Angela Kupele joins us now live from Johannesburg with more. Angela, one of the contracts being probed here involves China South Rail, which got contracts nearly worth $2 billion. And according to the draft report, these were wildly inflated prices. What is Mr. Molefe's defense?
Well, not only were those prices inflated, but it now appears that potentially some of the penalty clauses for late delivery were also foregone, as it were, written off by the implicated senior Transnet officials. Meanwhile, Molefe, of course, says he doesn't really actually have any defense. As you said, he's looking at a procedural approach. He's saying that he will explain everything and his involvement in these so-called shenanigans if he has sight of the 60 or so annexures to the investigation report that he received on around the 27th of July. He was then told that he would have just 2 weeks in which to respond, and he's now claiming that because he hasn't got those 60 annexures, he can't respond in time. He's saying that he's also going to be calling for a audit report and a legal assurance report that was prepared during those transactions that happened. The inference here is that he probably thinks that he can explain his way out of the accusations that have been laid against him, Raman.
Indeed. Walk us through the corporate governance side of things, because assuming the report's findings are confirmed, what's supposed to happen next to these massive SOEs, Eskom and Transnet, especially because in some cases the executives involved in those deals are still in office right now, like the Transnet CEO, Siyabonga Gama. He's moved up the ranks, as it were. So what happens now?
Well, there are reports emerging that at least 5 executives at Transnet are about to be suspended, or at least asked why they shouldn't be suspended, because it appears that there's a disciplinary committee that's been formed and established to look at the 1,064 locomotive deal that was signed several years ago. Part of that committee approach is to call for the suspension of 5 senior Transnet executives, including Gama himself, and obviously 4 others that are involved in the transactions. The Transnet board has denied that this is the case. They were responding to media inquiries earlier. But as far as Eskom's concerned, the current board there appears to have taken a broom and swept out all the executive bad eggs, at a senior level at least. The most recent person to be dismissed was the chief legal advisor, Suzanne Daniels. In the meantime, there are still several outstanding matters against ex-CEOs Molefe and Koko, as well as the CFO, Anand Singh. So it's early days, but it looks like the legal course of action will take its course, as it were. Raman?
Indeed. Finally, Angelo, tie this up for us, because there are several probes into this rampant corruption, undue enrichment that took place at several SOEs. Transnet is one, Eskom is another, and a couple of others as well. What's the latest on all these probes?
Well, we're all waiting for the parliamentary subcommittee investigation report into public enterprises. They're going to be releasing the report concerning Eskom. Then there's the criminal investigation around the Estina dairy farm in the Free State that's implicated several members of the Gupta family and several senior government and regional government officials. There's also a case against Duduzane Zuma. That's obviously the ex-president's son, and that's related to an attempted bribe of the then Deputy Finance Minister. The big one, of course, is the Zondo Commission. Recently, Deputy Chief Justice Raymond Zondo applied for and got a 24-month extension to do his work. Initially, it was given just 180 days in which to look at the whole corporate state capture investigation. In fact, everyone now is going to be watching to see how the puzzle pieces are put together by Zondo and his team over the next 2 years. That includes the likes of the ex-president, some of his family members, many senior and junior government officials associated with Zuma, the leadership within the state-owned entities, and of course, let's not forget the business people who were involved in paying the bribes or returning those favors. They'll also be a little anxious over the next 2 years or so, Raman.
Indeed, and of course that timeline bleeds neatly into the elections next year. We'll leave it there for the time being. Thank you for that. That's Angela Kovale, live in Johannesburg, South Africa.